isn't going to work.
1 second after Ms. Vittori sits down.
All time in the world. Okay, we're good to go? Okay, all right. Good evening. I'd like to call this May 21st, 2019 meeting of Middletown City Council to order. Please stand and join me in the moment of meditation and the pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mr. Atkins, would you call the roll for our business meeting?
Ms. Vittori?
Here.
Mr. Bohannon?
Here.
Moon?
Here.
Mr. Mulligan?
Here.
Mayor Mulligan?
Here. All right, reconvene after our work session upstairs. City manager reports, Mr. Atkins?
Yes, Your Honor, I've got a couple things this evening. I'm going to try to get out in front of the 6 items of pace you've got on your agenda tonight. At the April 2nd, 2019 meeting, we discussed the idea of making capital improvements at the community center using the PACE financing program. This provides the community center some repairs for long deferred maintenance. Also reduces energy use and changes a lot of things over to LED lights. Project also provides, by doing this, an economic development project that they can now take out when they're talking both to existing businesses and prospects about energy improvements. With the existing businesses, this is a program that's really designed for people that don't have access to a lot of capital. It allows you to get the energy improvements and make the repairs and replacements that you need and pay for it over 10 years on the property taxes. With our prospective businesses, it gives us an opportunity to add that to the funding stack. So again, if they've got historic tax credits, they've got a number of other ways to get pieces of it, including equity. This is another way to finance a piece of it that allows the project to move on for viability. By doing the community center project, that allows us to take them over, show them the energy analysis, show them the improvements that are made, show them how everything came together, how we paid for it, and do this in a way that, again, gives Jennifer some room to go out and bring other businesses to Middletown. So you'll have 6 pieces of legislation this evening. You'll have ordinances number 2019-30, 31, 32, 33, and 34, and resolution number 2019-16. We will be, through all of this, converting the interior and exterior lighting to LED lighting, updating the HVAC controls, taking the parking lot and creating LED lighting for safety. There's a roof drain that needs done, and the biggest expenditure are roofing renovations for the community center. This is a project that we are working with the Butler County Port, who is now partnered with the Warren County Port to do the financing of the project, which is a newer concept for those 2 entities. So O 2019-30 will be an ordinance authorizing and accepting the project petition and plan. Each property is responsible for submitting a petition for PACE Energy projects and a plan for completing the project. O 2019-31 will be an ordinance authorizing operating agreements. There are several agreements, for operating agreements surrounding construction and financing. R 2019-16 will be a resolution of necessity for public improvements. This legislation is nearly identical to the legislation you see when we do sidewalk and curb improvements, assessing property owners. Ordinance 2019-32 will be an ordinance to proceed with public improvements. This is also very similar to what you'd see with sidewalk and curb improvements that we do each year out in the public. O 2019-33 is an ordinance levying special assessments. It's where we're going to assess ourselves for the project. And then 2019-34 will authorize the contract with PlugSmart, which is the company that we have authorized previously to handle our PACE program. Ms. Cohen also sent out in the last day or so the energy analysis and all of that. It's available for you to look through. They've done a nice job of laying out what they're going to change, what the costs and the energy improvements are designed to be. And so you will see that for first readings tonight, and we will ask for passage at the June 4th meeting. Another thing you're going to see this evening is the civil penalty section, which is ordinance number 2019-35. You've gotten some information on that already in the staff report. We originally had, when I sent the original list out, a public hearing set for tonight. That was for the Planning Commission piece of it. As we were putting that together, we realized that it was 95% correct, but there were a couple provisions that Planning Commission did not see, and so we need to circle back and get the entire thing right with them. So we pulled the public hearing. We also put the ordinance that will implement the civil penalties for the Planning Commission portion of that, which is the development code of the city. The one you have before you is for the rest of the codified ordinances. I can tell you as your former prosecutor, I like this. It's based on the Cincinnati ordinance. It's another tool. None of these things, the chronic nuisance ordinance, the property maintenance code, none of these are silver bullets. None of them is going to solve everything you've got. But this is another tool that gives us another way to reach another group of people that may not respond to the things we have on the books. And the reason I say that is we often had property maintenance codes cases when we were when I was your prosecutor. And what would typically happen is they would get a fine of $25 in court costs, and the judge would tell them to go fix it. And what if they were a bad landlord, what would happen is that was just cost doing business. And so when we'd have to recite them, we have to bring them back into court. It would take 30, 60 days. And it was not a good tool to bring certain things back into compliance. And so this is going to be a little different. A number of cities in Ohio use this already. And the concept is it's almost like a parking ticket. You get a ticket every day, you don't do it. Again, there's a statutory time frame to get it. Hey, you've got a problem. Hey, we mean it. Here's a civil notice of violation. You have so many days under the notice to get it corrected. Again, as we do with property maintenance codes, if you come to us and say, I can do it, but it's going to be 2 weeks instead of 1 week, I need to get my uncle to come over and help me get up on the ladder, fine. We just want, it's always about getting compliance. Mm-hmm. That's always the end goal of all of this. But for the people who say, yeah, I ain't going to do it, then eventually the statutory time will pass. We then have the option to take them to court. We have the option to abate the nuisance, which then comes out of the general fund at our cost, or the option to give them the civil penalty. And it's listed in the ordinance, but let's say it's $100. The idea then is we can come back tomorrow and give you another $100 penalty. We can come back the third day, and eventually we're going to hit your pain threshold where you go, you know what, I think I'll just fix whatever it is and get it done. And again, this is another group. We've got people that respond to the chronic nuisance. We've got people that respond to the property maintenance code. We have people that want to respond to the property maintenance code, but they don't have the physical ability or they don't have the money to do their thing. And we can get those types of things. We can get people in to help them. This is another tool that allows us to reach another group of people, and that's why it's going to be before you this evening. And that's what I have, Your Honor.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Atkins? All right, thank you. Brings us to our citizen comments and others. I'd like to invite Ms. Julie Joyce Smith, the auditor's office down. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me another few minutes of your time this evening. Things going on in the Butler County Auditor's Office. Well, will not surprise you. We're still kind of hounding the legislature about fuel quality testing. With the current House bill that passed through the House that's now in the Senate, the budget bill, there's a provision for raising gas tax. That was largely disputed between the House and the Senate, and I believe they did finally come to some mutual understanding. So the auditors throughout the state of Ohio are saying, well, now you're going to be paying more at the pump, and we really would love to be able to make sure you're getting what you pay for. So again, fuel quality testing, we have locally Representative George Lang of Westchester and Representative Bridget Kelly out of Cincinnati. who are currently writing some legislation to introduce fairly quickly. This will be a bipartisan bill. Again, it would be a permissive fuel quality testing measure to allow auditors who wish to participate. Interesting statistic that if the 10 largest counties in Ohio participated in this program, it would cover more than 50% of the gas stations statewide. So it doesn't take a lot of auditors to participate. This would also allow us to test for not only water and sediment, but octane level. This past spring has been very wet. And recently, we had some more problems in Madison Township at a gas station where several cars were rendered. One actually didn't even leave the parking lot. It's costly for the taxpayer. It's costly for the station owner. It's just costly all the way around. So again, we're looking forward to hopefully introducing that legislation this year and getting it passed so that Ohio is no longer one of the 3 states who no longer check for fuel quality testing, along with Alaska and Nebraska. The next item on my list, it's really 3 items, all pertaining to the valuation side of the auditor's office. I know that a lot of times when you think, oh, we're out there picking up things for new construction, it is primarily residential in nature. We will be beginning our new construction cycle, which means our appraisers will be out the end of the month in the community. We have 4,200 properties to look at over the next few months to pick up that new construction. So we, once again, while we're out and about, we do make sure that we reach out to the local dispatches and the police organizations to let them know that we're going to be in the community, and we're always cognizant of the fact that now it's summer and the children are going to be out of school if they're not already. So we like to let the community know that we're going to be out. So if you see a car sitting on your street idling or taking pictures, our cars are clearly marked Butler County Auditor's Office, and our staff are clearly marked with their name tags and will gladly give you information if approached. So we just like to be safe and make sure that we are able to pick up those properties effectively and safely for the community. The commercial industrial side of the house, one of the steps that we do to prepare for the 2020 physical reevaluation of properties is we send out an income and expense letter to all the commercial and industrial businesses, and this allows us a process to gather information about leases and rents, construction costs, things of that nature that we will build into our cost tables to help us more efficiently and more productively appraise those properties. And then one of the other steps that we've been doing is the last few years we have been reaching out to local building departments, municipal building departments, to get building permit data, blueprints, and inspection dates. Once again, this allows us to pick up to appraise the structures more effectively, more conservatively, and more accurately, and this will ensure your revenue stream when it comes to time to settle the tax dollars, and it also cuts down on the number of appeals. I can remember a time in the auditor's office where a county our size, we would have 1,300 appeals in a year. This year, I think we have 200. So that tells you that I think that's a check on our side. When we took the appraisal process over from a large company, we no longer farm that out. We do that internally. I think it shows in the lack of complaints being filed against the valuation. So, and again, the fewer complaints there are, the more consistent your revenue stream is, and everyone is happy. Finally, as always, I like to kind of end with Homestead. Again, we're still looking for folks who may not have heard of the program. A Homestead exemption is Ohio is for senior citizens who are 65 or older or permanently disabled. And then the most elusive of that group is the disabled veteran. A lot of times folks aren't they don't realize that they could be eligible for a tax saving. Here in Middletown, residents would save on an average about $500 annually, and the disabled veterans would save roughly $1,000 a year off their tax bills. So it can be a fairly, it's worth the application. And again, if there's any questions about it, you can certainly call the Butler County Auditor's Office and ask to speak to someone about Homestead, or say, hey, I heard Julie talk and you want to talk to me. I'll be happy to get you what you need. And again, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Great. Thanks for coming down this evening. Any questions for Ms. Smith?
All righty, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next I'd like to invite, we have some speakers from the Central Connection. Ms. Smith. Good evening.
I was trying to figure out my best route down here.
Thanks for coming down this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can-
You were at my house earlier.
Oh, well, it's,
There's nothing
Yeah.
there to it, just spreadsheets and then, that's just
stuff. Okay.
stuff. Good stuff. Well, thanks again for having me. Again, I'm Monica Smith, the Executive Director, and I'm still recovering from the Women's Wine and Chocolate Walk on Saturday. But what a nice event that was. I just wanted to give a brief, before I get into the specific questions that Council had, just a brief overview of 2018 and some of our stats and who we are, just for those that are new to Council. Whether you know us as the Golden Age Club, Middletown Area Senior Citizens, now Central Connections, we've been here in Middletown for 66 years, which is amazing to me that we've been here. We have a philosophy of whole person wellness, and so we meet older adults where they are in their journey towards wellness, providing services to keep them independent in their homes. We currently have about, I should have brought my water down. We currently have about 800 members. Members are different than clients, even though some of our members are clients. 72% of those are in the Middletown zip codes. 36 zip codes are all over Ohio, mainly Butler and Warren counties. The U.S. Census population estimate 2018 tells us that 20% of Middletown's population is 60 plus. And that, of course, with the baby boomers are going to continue to grow. And I'm heading that direction myself. So we receive funding. I'm not sure if you know this, but we receive funding from 3 different sources. Our main sources are the Elderly Services Program, ESP, and that's a 5-year property tax levy in the counties in Southwest Ohio. Each levy is separate and may vary slightly in terms of Council on Aging in Southwest Ohio in most cases. We provide services under both the Butler and Warren County programs. Common services provided to older adults residents include home-delivered meals, transportation, medical and non-medical, independent living assistant, homemaker and home health aid, lifeline, adult care, home modification, respite, case management, counseling, and caregiver support groups. We receive funding for HDM, which is home-delivered meals, and transportation through ESP. So ESP is our last payer resort, meaning that we will bill for Title III dollars before we bill for ESP dollars. And ESP and Passport, which I'll get to, they are referral based, where Title III is something that we put out an RFP for. So it's a little different. Passport is similar to ESP. It provides services to older adults. Passport strives to assist older adults to remain independent and in their homes longer. Passport is called a Medicaid waiver program. Older adults must qualify for Medicaid welfare to receive services. It's a waiver because it covers older adult-related services over and beyond what Medicaid would cover or pays for younger people. Title III, this is, we just had a Title III bid out, which I'll get to when we talk a little bit more about the specific questions that you had. Title III is a federal program that receives funding from the Older Americans Act that creates the basic rules and requirements for eligibility and mandates how most of the funds will be used. Title III funds go to each state. In Ohio, the Department of Aging distributes the funds to the area agency on aging. And groups like Council on Aging administer and distribute. So Council on Aging puts out a request for proposal, which we just finished up, and identifies providers willing to work with them to provide services. Services funded include our transportation, our congregate meal. So when you were there today for Rotary, the meal that we have is the congregate meal, that it's a communal meal. recreation, supportive services, and all of which are provided by Central Connections. So those are our three main funding sources through Council on Aging. And then our other funding includes United Way, which I think you all know was 20%. We had a 20% cut there. And grants, we have contracted with a grant writer to help us to provide for some of our bigger things that we need funding for. Our services in 2018 included, for home-delivered meals, we delivered 93,567 meals last year, and 84% of those were in the Middletown zip code. For our congregate meals, and we have to meet Council on Aging nutritional guidelines, we did 19,536 meals, and 63 of them were in the Middletown zip code. We do off-site, we do Dublin House, Trinity Manor, and Mayfield Place. And those are all within the food desert of Middletown. So we deliver congregate meals there on a daily basis. Council on Aging came to us last year and asked us if we would pick up 2 additional sites, and those are in Hamilton, and it's Booker T and Bell Tower. And so those provide additional income and units to Central Connections that help us to provide the other services that we do for Middletown. Transportation, we did 13,000 medical and non-medical trips, and 89% were in Middletown. We just got a grant for 3 new vans, which we received last week through OKI, which we have those on the road very soon as we get all the insurance things in place. Supportive services, we had 210 clients, an average of 17 per month, with 95% of those in Middletown. And what our supportive services do is they do home visits, HEAP applications, city water discounts, vision assistance, and we're a resource for the community. We do have some clients that don't necessarily, that we can't bill for, but will come to us as a resource that are under 60. And then, of course, other services that we have are recreation, wellness, our movement classes, our evidence-based classes, our outings, and so forth, our wellness fairs. So other ways that we offset the cost to run the center is through our catering and rentals. We're the biggest venue here in Middletown. We can fit the most people, that's what that means. But, and we had a goal of $82,000 that we would make through our rentals and catering, and we've already exceeded that goal for 2019. So hopefully we will continue to grow that business to help support the center. Some of the testimonials I hear is, I hope the center exists forever. It's a great benefit for our seniors. I take care of my husband and sister-in-law who have Alzheimer's, and it's a great outlet for me. I've lost weight and have more energy and feel better. The center does so much good, especially because of transportation. I get to come and socialize and get a good meal, and exercise has helped my body recover from an injury quicker. I hardly have to take pain pills anymore. So we hear these types of things all the time. Mostly people that would not be getting out of their homes are now independent and not depending on their family. Our home delivered meal drivers are checking on our clients and making sure that they are taken care of. So council had some specific questions that pertained to our levy proceeds. We're into our second year of our levy proceeds, and our debt and our net income loss from operations, and where we are on our loan, and some long-term maintenance opportunities that we have, and our plan going forward, etc. So I'm just going to touch on those real quick. They did ask about, you all asked about the 990, and I haven't gotten 18s back yet, but as soon as I do, I can easily forward that on to you, and then if you have questions from there, I can answer those, or my team can answer those. So if you just open up your packet now, and you'll see 2 spreadsheets, and the first one up at the right hand is A, so you'll see spreadsheet A, And that will just kind of go over a little bit about our levy renewal. I'll talk on that piece. We had a couple of loans out there, and the 305 loan was paid off in July of 2018. And then our other loan, 304, we refinanced for a period of 5 years at 5.5%. And in July of 2018, we did that with a final payment that would go through July of 2023. Our loan 304 will carry an annual principal and interest payment of about $314,821 going forward. Our levy proceeds are expected to generate about $650,000 a year starting, well, we're starting in 2019 are my talking points, but that actually started in 2018. Excess levy funds should be about $335,000 each year going forward. Assuming we don't need any of these funds to support the ongoing cost of Central Connections, Loan 304 should be paid off. We could pay that off in 2021. This would save us about $56,000 in interest and expense. However, we do anticipate that we will need some help from these funds until we can build up our income stream from some of our shortfalls. We still have a shortfall in some of our ESP dollars, our Title III dollars, and our United Way shortfall of about 20%. And then some of the different costs that we have just to keep the building going, our operational costs. I basically have started with nothing, and I'm trying to build something, so to keep this building. We are in the process of a strategic plan to find and increase other income streams. As it stands now, because this was one of the questions, we're not sure how much of the excess levy funds will be needed to support our services and facilities, not only because of the shortfalls, but because of the planned and unplanned expenses. We had the vans that I just spoke about. Those were a matching grant, so I have dollars that needed to go towards that. We have matching funds that we have to meet with COA. We have unexpected, of course, repairs like your house would, a garbage disposal, an ice machine, those types of things that aren't our boilers. They're not, as you know, I just heard you speaking about some of those different things. It hits you, and they always come in threes. So those are some of the different things that we have going on that I can't, maybe if we come back a year from now, or I keep these conversations going, I'll know a little bit more after we do some of the strategic planning, where we are as far as not having to utilize the excess levy dollars. But if you want to look at the next spreadsheet B, we'll talk a little bit about our income loss. There were some questions around that. Our income from calendar year 2016 to 19 from Butler County ESP and United Way is down $169,000 and $35,000 for a total of $205,000. So we're trying to recoup some of those, and I'll tell you a little bit here how we're going to do that. We've submitted to the Title III proposal to increase our business units in congregate, transportation, social services, and recreation. We'll know in September if we've gotten the business. If so, we would see an increase in the final quarter of 2019 of about $64,000, with the full year effect in 2020 of $281,300 if we get that business. If we are successful in getting Title III for the full year effect of additional income, we still will be short of break even on average from 2020 to 2023 from $66,150 in income loss from operations. Building new business and increasing existing operations income while reducing expenses continues to be a challenge, but we're making every effort to get to that break-even position as we move forward. Council on Aging, we have a very good relationship with them. They've shared that they need us here in Middletown, and we do have their support. A question was, would we be coming after another levy? Our hope is, of course, after everything I've just shared, that we would not have to do that. But again, I'm not at a comfortable point to say that. We've had some board discussions that if we would do that, it wouldn't be maybe for less millage. I don't know. I can't speak to that at this point in time. But I would hope that we could do some collaboration and some brainstorming and work together and kind of see going forward, keep the conversation going. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Questions?
Time for questions, okay. Any questions from council for Ms. Smith? Certainly appreciate you coming down this
Wow.
evening, and, you got a few, you must have covered all the questions.
That's
but,
why we gave you the questions.
You know where I know. You know where I work, so I'm not used to, yeah. I'll take it.
Well, no, it's certainly useful information. I know, council, we struggled with this going back, a few years ago for the renewal in terms of, the appropriateness of it. There's some concern out there. We want to make sure, I think, we're doing our fiscal responsibility of making sure we're providing the oversight as the taxing authority, and I appreciate this and glad to hear the board's engaged in working to address, the deficits and coming up with a plan to do it. And again, we've got a few years to look at this, but certainly appreciate you coming down and sharing the information.
Okay, well, thank you. And if
Thank
you have
you.
any further questions, you know where I live.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. All right, and I have one citizen comment card this evening. I'd like to invite Miss Rita Tibbs down. Sorry to keep you there, but good evening. If we get your name and address for the record, please.
Rita Tibbs, I live at 220 North Marshall Road.
Good evening.
I've been here before. I was here about 6 or 8 months ago complaining about the retention behind my home between me and Rosedale School. And the city came in, cleaned it up. They did a wonderful job. It was 6 weeks ago. It was gorgeous. The grass cutters are already cutting. They cut one time to the schoolyards 2. My 2. They cut one. They're already rounding it off, and it's growing up in the creek. And I wanted to come down and say something to you, hopefully get it stopped before they undo everything you already did.
Okay.
Because it was gorgeous. It
Okay.
was really beautiful 6 weeks ago.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming down, and
check in
we'll have the city manager follow up on that and see what we can do.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, and with that, we can move to our consent agenda. Ms. Cohen?
Thank you. For your consideration this evening, we have approval of the city council minutes from May 7th, 2019, receive and file board and commission minutes from the Board of Health, April 9th, 2019, the library board from January 15 and February 19, 2019, confirm the following personnel appointments: Kelly Short to the position of administrative assistant in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Fire; Nicholas Cundiff to the position of corrections officer in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police; Timothy Inglica to the position of patrol officer in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police; Alexis Manning to the position of corrections officer in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. Confirm the personnel promotion of William Adkins to the position of equipment operator in the Department of Public Works and Utilities, Division of Street Maintenance. And to authorize the city manager to contract for demolition of 209 Yankee and 19 South Clinton using CDBG demolition funds.
Okay, thank you. Do we have approval, do we have a motion to approve of the issues and actions listed on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Atkins, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bohannon.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan.
Yes.
Ms. Vettori.
Yes.
All right, and our motion item, Mr. Atkins?
Yes, Your Honor. The Middletown Division of Police is looking to acquire 4 new Ford PPV vehicles. One will be a K9 Cruiser. The other 3 will be replacement cruisers for 2013 Chevy Caprices, which gotten to the end of their useful life. We will sell the old vehicles on Gov Deals. The vehicles are available through the State Cooperative Purchasing Program. The money's been appropriated in this year's budget, and it is ready for your action this evening.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Mr. Atkins? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the purchase of four new Ford PPV utility vehicles under the ODAS contract for the Division of Police. The total amount, $132,747 from Lebanon Ford.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Atkins, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan.
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon. Yes. Ms. Vettori.
Yes.
All right, that brings us to council comments. Start with Mr. Mulligan this evening.
Thank you, Your Honor. Busy few weeks since we last met. Offer my thanks to the organizers and participants and citizens for the Keep Middletown Beautiful cleanup event a couple Saturdays ago. Really reflects well in the city, the hundreds of people that came out and cleaned up parks and alleys and roadsides. It was a tremendous effort, and I think the weather cooperated greatly, and it was, again, great event. Just as an addendum to that, this time of year particularly, I see a lot of these bags from retailers, and as a reminder to viewers at home, normally there's a telephone number on these bags, so if you don't want them at your home, you can call and have it stopped. So it's worked for me, and I would encourage others to do it because these do accumulate on the roadways, and they become litter unsightly. So if you don't want them, please call the number and cancel the service. Second, I thank the organizers, the police department and Fraternal Order of Eagles for hosting the Police Memorial Week dinner last week. Great dinner and a great recap of so many of the wonderful work ethic of our police department and so many instances of local heroes doing their jobs. Also, the next day was Midi Olympics, and that was the inaugural event at the newly renovated Middletown High School athletic fields, and a great way for the students who have special needs to participate, and everyone literally was a winner that day, and it was really a feel-good event, great weather, and another well-executed event. I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bohannon?
Thank you, Mayor. Tomorrow is going to be the bash, starting up for the year, so hopefully we have a big turnout for that. Hopefully the weather cooperates. Also, Memorial Day weekend this weekend, parade and all. I hope everyone will come out and get, again, weather cooperate. Other than that, that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Vittori?
I want to thank all of the organizers for Women, Wine, and Chocolate this past weekend. We had 1,000 women in downtown Middletown, and it was truly an amazing day. The streets were filled, the shops, the restaurants, the bars. I think everyone had a great time. So DMI works tirelessly on our behalf downtown to bring people into town and keep them there. So I want to thank everyone from DMI, especially Kara and Mika and Betsy, and everyone else who volunteered that day to make it a really great event.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Moon?
Thank you. I want to echo Mr. Mulligan's comments about the police awards dinner. It was an awesome display of the excellent work that goes on in our city police department. I want to congratulate all the award winners, thank the patrolmen, the detectives, the dispatchers for all their great work. Call response times are going down, crime levels are going down. They're just really doing an excellent job. I also want to mention that last Friday I got to attend Friday Night Live. If you know Kip Moore, which I'm sure you do, he's very involved here in town. He has rented some space out at Town Mall, and if you've ever been interested in how a live TV show is run, that's kind of what he's doing out there. It's little skits. He's recording it, and there was probably 50 to 75 people there on Friday, and just kind of a fun time and very humorous. So he's going to be running that once a month, and if you're interested, please check it out. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. No, a lot of great events going on, and my hats off to the volunteers that do make it happen. Everything is, as was mentioned, the Earth Day, Wine, Women, and Chocolate. I should mention I got the invite today for Hops in the Hangar, another DMI event coming up in August out at our airport. Great fun time, and again, I think they had over 600 last year and probably expecting more this year, so it'll be even better. A couple things, just a reminder for council. We are looking and working with the Census Bureau for our complete count committee. I've submitted a couple names to Mr. Atkins. We've discussed a few, so if you have suggestions for folks that might be interested in participating, please let them know. The idea is to get that group organized and started in June, and we have a staff liaison, I think, it's going to take that over and get that going to get some of the training out there. I think we've got school representation. We've got representation from the Second Ward and the NAACP, I think, almost lined up. So, 8 to 10 people is probably a good committee for our size community, and that certainly helps with the census activities. And let's see, last one I don't think it was mentioned, but I do want to recognize the work of the Chamber and our local school districts, beyond even just Middletown, but they hosted Pathways to Professions out at the Town Mall Galleria, I think a week ago Friday. Had over, I think, 700 students go through there, everything from middle school through high school, opening up and showing students what opportunities there are in the workplace for opportunities that don't necessarily require a college degree. We did have some participation from the educational partners with Butler Tech, Cincinnati State, and Miami University regionals there. But again, a great event and a good opportunity for kids to meet firsthand with potential employers. And I think a number of them were excited to see the students, and was excited to hear that even EK Steel is looking at bringing in some student interns for summer positions and work around the plant that doesn't involve safety issues, but there's some real innovative thinking going out in the terms of the business community, working towards new workforce solutions. And that's, again, exciting to see here in Middletown, and great to see that happen. I think that's all I have. Ms. Cohen, we can move on to our legislation.
Certainly, Your Honor. We do have one matter asking you to consider for an emergency this evening. So I'd ask for the motion to waive charter requirements for 2 readings and 30 days to enactment with regards to Resolution 2019-17.
I move to waive the charter provision requiring a reading on 2 separate days and to declare the previously read resolution an emergency measure and read one time only.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Atkins, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Mulligan,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Thank you. First matter we have this evening is ordinance number O 2019-29, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Hamco X-Ray Incorporated for the purchase of an X-ray scanner for municipal court. This is the second reading.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we had a presentation on this last time. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Atkins, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon,
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Next matter is ordinance O 2019-30, an ordinance authorizing and approving a petition for special assessments for special energy improvement projects and plan for public improvements and declaring an emergency. No action requested until June the 4th.
Okay, now Mr. Atkins mentioned this in his staff report. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Next matter is ordinance number O 2019-31. An ordinance authorizing and approving a cooperative agreement providing for the financing of a special energy improvement project in the city of Middletown, authorizing and approving a special assessment agreement, authorizing and approving a construction agency agreement, authorizing and approving certain other related documents, and declaring an emergency. No action requested until June the 4th.
Again, all tied to our PACE discussion earlier.
And Your Honor, I would just, again, reiterate that if there are any remaining questions, you've got a couple of weeks to get them in. We're happy to answer them, but yes, it's all for June 4th.
Appreciate that.
Next matter is also tied to that, Resolution R 2019-16, a resolution approving the necessity of acquiring, constructing, and improving certain public improvements in the city of Middletown, Ohio, in cooperation with the Middletown Energy Special Improvement District, and declaring an emergency. No action requested until the 4th.
Okay.
Fifth matter is ordinance O 2019-32, an ordinance determining to proceed with the acquisition, construction, and improvement of certain public improvements in the city of Middletown in cooperation with the Middletown Energy Special Improvement District, and declaring an emergency. No action requested until the 4th.
Okay.
Next matter is ordinance O 2019-33, an ordinance levying special assessments for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, and improving certain public improvements in the city of Middletown, Ohio, in cooperation with the Middletown Energy Special Improvement District, and declaring an emergency. And finally, ordinance O 2019-34, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Juice Technologies Incorporated, doing business as PlugSmart, for a PACE project to implement energy conservation measures at the Robert Sunny Hill Junior Community Center, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, thank you.
Next matter is Resolution R 2019-17, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, state of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2019, declaring an emergency.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes, Your Honor, we had talked before about partnering with CBI and the Y for a modest recreations program this summer for $30,000. I had discussed with you earlier the possibility of adding the Chick-fil-A camp to that. On investigating, that is a completely religious opportunity, and we're not going to be able to avail ourselves of that. It's got Bible study and all kinds of things that we probably don't want to get involved in directly as a government. So this is for the 30,000 for the initial program. CBI, the Y, and I believe the Columbus Zoo is going to put a one-time program on.
Okay, very good. Any questions or comments, council?
Do we know what the one-time project is gonna be with the zoo that we can share?
We do, I don't.
That's all right, just being nosy.
I'd be happy to get that information and send it out to council. Yeah. They've talked about it and got it all set up. I just haven't been around for those discussions.
Very good. All right, with that, Mr. Atkins, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Vittori,
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes?
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan.
I have to abstain due to a conflict, but that motion carries.
Next matter is Resolution R 2019-18, a resolution to make adjustments to appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Middletown, counties of Butler and Warren, State of Ohio, for the period ending December 31st, 2019. It's involving the general fund. This is here for a second reading.
Okay, a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
We had a presentation on this previously. Mr. Atkins, anything to add?
No, just a reminder that this is a pass-through for the fire grant that they've gotten that will allow us to expend the grant money.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Okay, Mr. Atkins, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bohannon.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes?
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan.
Yes.
Ms. Vittori.
Yes.
Next matter is Resolution R 2019-19, a resolution authorizing an agreement granting tax abatement to MLH Developers LLC for redevelopment of 1044 Central Avenue in the downtown Middletown Community Reinvestment Area. This is also a second reading.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Atkins, anything to add? And you presented this previously?
Oh, no, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? Okay, Mr. Atkins, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Mulligan.
Yes.
Ms. Vittori.
Abstain due to conflict.
Mr. Bohannon.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes?
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Next matter is ordinance O 2019-35, an ordinance to enact chapter 214 code compliance, civil offenses and fines, and amend section 1436.06 remedial action and 1436.99 penalty, the Middletown codified ordinances. This is here for a first reading.
Okay, Mr. Atkins, anything to add from your earlier report?
No, just again, a reminder that there's a lot of information in that report. If there are any questions that council has, we have certainly 2 weeks to get all those answers for you. We're happy to do that. Ms. Cohen's done a lot of the work on this, so again, we're happy to follow up if there are anything else that council would like to see on this.
Just a general comment. I know it was designed specifically with some flexibility, and we've kind of traded some emails back and forth on that. I was wondering if you could just kind of explain why that approach was chosen as opposed to A, B, C, D. You know, this is the step-by-step approach.
It is still a step-by-step approach, but as in the same way that, you know, a police officer, when he goes out and he sees a crime, he has the authority and the ability in many cases to decide whether or not he's going to issue a traffic ticket and things like that. And it's based on the totality of the circumstances. And that's what we try to do with code enforcement. If there's any possibility of getting voluntary compliance, that's our goal. And so this gives us another tool that, again, allows us to give us some flexibility. Is there a chance it can be misused? Of course. As anything that we've got, the civil penalty, you know, a parking ticket, all of those things have the ability to abuse the discretion. Our hope is that we don't. Our goal is always to work with volunteers, and again, if we can't get it done voluntarily, we'll bring in, you know, nonprofit partners and everything if we can. This is designed for the guy that just says, yeah, I ain't gonna do it, and, you know, and court's ineffective. And so, you know, it's a narrow tool that, again, we hope reaches another small group of people that we can bring into compliance.
Thank you.
If I may also add briefly, there are 2 stopgaps in this as well if somebody believes that the system's being abused. First, they'll be able to ask for an appeal from a hearing officer that'll take a look at it, and if they're not satisfied with that, they do have an opportunity to appeal to the court system. So if there is a chance of abuse, there is some stopgap in there to try and address that.
Thank you. And I just point out that there are, most of these look like they're all a Class A, the lower level.
Correct.
They can certainly add up to be nuisances, but they're not all the high dollar ones, so, okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Cohen? Last item.
Last matter is ordinance O 2019-36, an ordinance to levy special assessments for the repair of sidewalk, curb, and gutter in the city of Middletown during the year 2018 against the lots and lands benefited by said improvement, here for a first reading.
Okay, Mr. Atkins, I know this is probably an annual routine.
It is, Your Honor. This is the repairs that were made and to be assessed to the property owners in accordance with the resolution of necessity. Ordinance R 2018-08. Those repairs have been made. The final tallies have been ready. It's ready to be levied. And this will allow us to move forward with that after your passage.
Very good. Any questions or comments from council? Okay, with that, our last item this evening is an executive session, so I need a motion on the authority of Iowa Code 121.22 G1 to consider the compensation of a public employee or official.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Atkins, would you call the roll, please? Okay, thought we were finished.
Sorry about that. Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon?
Yes?
Mr. Moon?
Yes?
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan?
Yes. All right, following our executive session will be in recess till June 4th, 2019 at 5:30 in these chambers. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Your Honor.